Welcome to the Online Showcase video, M.I.A. edition. Today we are back at the Refinery once more. This might be the final update to this station. I think I'm pretty happy with what we got here so far. It's just all working pretty well. I can now do everything that I wanted to on this station. All the different operations in terms of loading, unloading, keeping empty rolling stock stored somewhere. That's all working out pretty well. There are still a few minor tweaks that I may consider in the future, but those would really just be footnotes and not major updates to anything. So unless the upcoming anniversary update is going to add something significant, this should be good to go for the foreseeable future. So yeah, let's talk about all the changes that happened here. Starting out with the engine shed. There used to be one over here, which I then removed more into that direction and finally decided that I don't want to have it at all. It's a bit weird with this station because usually I have a few purposes for those engine sheds and really they don't apply too much to this particular station. First up, I like to have an engine shed to store my helper engine. We have one over here and that's currently just out here enjoying the weather. Until further notice I may build something custom for this one, but just having the enormous engine shed for such a tiny engine, it's really not something that I want to have over here. Secondly, putting the engine shed to this track right here, bit awkward to reach for the helper engine, while that is over on this part of the station right now. Usually it's only a minor part dealing with the lumber and the steel pipes resupply. Most of the time it's gonna be on this side, just loading the barrels onto the bulkhead cars, and coming from this side to the other one is a bit awkward. So I would rather add another switch over here that goes off into this side and then just build something custom made for just this one engine, maybe build with boards and that kind of stuff. Maybe there will be another building that's more fitting for this in the future, but right now I haven't really decided on what I want to do, so I may just keep it as it is right now. So yeah, engine shed gone. The other reason why I would have one, by the way, would be for any incoming train. So I come in with a train that has some supplies or empty cars that need to be filled up, and to do all those loading and unloading operations I usually detach the engine and maybe I put it into the shed for it to be parked there until the rest of the operations are done. With this station, however, most of the cars are kinda bound to the station itself, meaning that before we get any engine over here, all of the cars will be dealt with. So the stuff that is there to get more supplies up here will be emptied. The bulkhead cars that I want to use for delivering the barrels will be filled up. And only when the engine is going to come, take the cars, bring them to their destination, do whatever needs to be done there, and then bring them back up before putting them back onto their storage track. And therefore there isn't really much of a need for the engine to stick around for longer. And it will most likely be in use for most of the time that it's actually in the station. So yeah, no real need for that. Also the tanker cars, while they are not part of this station, their road engines don't really make it up here. These are more helper engines for the smelter down below. And therefore these usually don't stick around either. So no real need for a large engine shed. But yeah, that's really that one point. The other things that changed are, for example, this switch over here. I wanted to get it just squeezed in this S-band that has been here for a while, and doing so finally allowed me to have the sidings for the bulkhead cars on this part, which not only puts it closer to the part of the station that actually needs to go to, but also allowed me to have two of the sidings. So instead of only having a single one, which got a bit cumbersome to deal with, I now have the option to separate the empties from the full cars, and that makes everything just so much easier, especially with the amount of cars I have here. So yeah, that just allows me to put the full cars on one side and not just doing a weird little dance in order to get to the empties, or just having to use the full cars as well while the empties are just stuck behind there. Makes everything just so much easier. Also, it allowed me to clean up this area a bit. This is where the old switch for the siding used to be. So the empties would go on this track, which is now gone. And we would have another switch behind the main switch that brings the back part of the station back to the main line. So yeah, having another switch over here would allow me to go down into the valley using the steeper track. And there was another switch before this one, going from the main line towards the crude oil drop-off station. So yeah, and reaching that platform from this direction is only useful if you are doing so while coming up from the bottom using this track. And that was just a bit weird. There were so many switches in this area that kind of made everything look a bit cluttered, and therefore I decided to just replace everything that I could. And now instead of having two switches to go first onto the main line from down below and then back off again towards the platform, I replaced those with just a single crossover. And this is overall looking a bit more elegant in my opinion. The only problem I could see with this, if I finally make it up here with a full train, that would be 2 climaxes in the front, 12 tanker cars, and then another 2 climaxes in the back. It's very likely that during the offloading operation, yeah, this part of the track might be blocked a bit, so the main line will be blocked by the other train going over here. But it is what it is, it cannot easily be helped, so I decided to just keep it here as it is. I was considering maybe reworking the main line and just putting it behind here. I don't think that would work at this point, it's kinda a bit tight. Without the switch, or maybe if I could put the switch a bit further in this direction, it could barely squeeze by, but that would be a tough squeeze and I don't really care much about that. So yeah, I think this is going to stay as it is right now. I mean, I'm only using this in single player, so there's really no chance that ever trains might collide here. If I ever open this up for multiplayer, this might be a minor inconvenience, but this should all be fine. So yeah, I think that's all the stuff that happened up here. I also completely rebuilt the way down, or the fast lane down, a few times in order to make it work. So let's have a look at what we have over there right now. I'm not completely happy with that, but I may just keep it as it is right now. The entire thing peaks out at a rate of 5%, which should allow me to get up to 12 fully loaded tanker cars up here with 4 climaxes. I'm not going to buy any more climaxes right now. These are the only 2 that I have. So still a few missing, but I'm just saving up for the next update to see what's coming out with that. So yeah, starting out pretty steeply with 5%. And that's gonna stay this for quite a while. There's an upcoming... We'll just hit the brakes a little, just so we don't fall off the track in a moment. Yeah, we're going to swing out to the left and then cut back, going into a right-hander, which is going to just do a full 180 to bring us back in the right direction towards the station down below. Putting this turn in was the biggest challenge of this entire track. Just finding a way to make this not look like a roller coaster that's completely detached from any of the surrounding area was a bit tough to fit in. I would have liked to make this a bit shorter, because overall, while the 5% grade is great and all, from this point on it usually evens out for the rest of the way down with maybe 2 or 3%, something along those lines. I mean, it's kind of cool using the pre-made area where you are supposed to build the track up on, but it's also a bit inefficient. I just couldn't find a way to have the track come down with mostly 5% and end up where I wanted it to be. And yeah, at the end we are going over all the tracks here, just having 3 different crossovers there. And I should slow down the train now. It's going a bit quick coming into the station. Let's also pull the other brake. Okay, that worked out pretty well. This is actually a very short section which is just meant for the climaxes to be parked on. I might need to add another shelter thing over here, but it's a bit weird with how all the track goes around here. There's no real straights to do so. So right now I've decided against putting any roof over the cars. Or over the engines, I should say. But yeah, this is now the station intended for all the operations regarding coming in here and attaching the climaxes to put the cars all the way up on the plateau, which is usually going to be mostly for the tanker. Other things might work as well, but right now I have a concrete idea on how I want to handle it with tanker cars. Everything else I would need to see and fiddle around with to know how much I can even pull up there. But yeah, the main idea is once you come in here with a train with fully loaded tankers, you are going on this track, then going onto the left siding, at which point you are going to have two sets of climaxes over here. So this might be the front set of two, and then there would be another two climaxes here attached to each other. So you would get the backmost ones, pull them out and attach them to any cars in the back here. Then split the train so you only carry like 12 of the cars. I think that's pretty much going to be the maximum that these climaxes are going to be able to pull. And once you have those attached, you pull them all out on to this track here. And then going to the right there and yeah, towards the incline again. Once all of the cars are past the switch over there, you can then come out with the other set of climaxes, attach to the back of those cars, and then just push and pull the entire thing up the hill towards the other station. And yeah, that's kind of the whole operation. You come back down, attach the ones that are the climaxes that are now in front, put that back on that track over here, then drive the rest of the cars around and push them onto the siding right ahead. And yeah, that's where all the full cars are going. No, at that point, that's where all the empties are going to go. I just messed it up. You are emptying all the tankers. You're not loading them at the station. So the empties go here. The other climaxes go back here. Pull out the next set of 12 cars, which is why I eventually want to have 24 tankers. And then you just do the exact same thing again and then eventually reassemble the entire train on that track. Speaking about the entire train, we now got another engine for this. We now have both Jekyll and Hyde. They are identical twins basically. I was considering maybe doing something with the color scheme, but this one looked the best anyway, so I decided to just make them carbon copies of each other. And yeah, as it is right now, that's how the train is going to work. I'm still not too fond about these engines. They are way too slow. Their top speed just matches Betsy. So that's a bit underwhelming, and especially for a road going engine going all the way from the bottom right to the top here. It's a long track, but unless we get another engine in the next update or so, I don't see myself switching these out. I don't have many good alternatives. And going in with something like 2 twinsies would be way overkill for this, so I think it's gonna be this for better or worse. I might maybe try the longer cook. That might be an option. I don't know if that's going to be any faster, but I don't know. I talked about these in the last episode or so, and my opinions haven't really changed now that I got the second one. It's just these engines just feel underwhelming, and the only reason to really get them is to complete the set of coal-driven engines in this game. But yeah, so much about them. If we get a better engine for this that's around the same power, I don't know what I'm going to do with these two. I wouldn't really want to delete those straight up. That would be a shame. But I think if I was to just put them into an engine shed or so, they would stay there forever. There's really no reason to use them for anything. Another thing I want to quickly talk about regarding this station, putting the connection to the 5% grader onto this side, it was a bit of a tough decision. Initially, I wanted to have the crossover point over here between the switches. So I would maybe have it either on that side or maybe have the crossover on this one. Initially, I thought this would be rather easy, but if you look closely, the whole sidings, they do a bit of a turn before you get into all the different switches and actually start all the different side tracks over there. So if I was to then put another switch over here to then go into everything else, it wouldn't align anymore. And yeah, that was a bit of an issue, putting it on the other side. I have a version of this save where I actually tried this. It worked out, but the problem was when trying to connect from over here onto that part. It's not easy, it's not quick. You could maybe do it with a 30 meter radius track, but that's also a bit weird because you still need to kind of counteract how it goes. And doing just a 60 meter track, which I'm aspiring to have on about every piece of track here. Yeah, you see just how late it comes back down and just closes back in over here, making all of this track so much shorter. That's no real option, and therefore finally I decided to just go with this track over here. Ideally, I would like the start of the incline to be right around here. I could maybe then go over these parts of tracks with bridges, but I think that would be rather goofy, especially with how it evens out a bit later down the line. It's a bit weird. I think I just have to get used to what I have here right now. I mean, it's working pretty well. It's definitely shorter than going around there, doing the half loop and then going around the entirety of the valley before going into the plateau. That track is good enough as it is. I'm just a bit too perfectionist about it, and since I have these two ways now, I would like that one to be as efficient as possible as well. But that doesn't really seem to work out. So yeah, unless I was to implement something like a switchback or so, which would make the entire thing a bit more demanding to operate, I think I'm better off just leaving it as it is. But yeah, there have been a few attempts at doing different grading, different routing and all that, and this is what I ended up with. So yeah, took me a while, and I think I deleted the save where I still had everything here. I just wanted to have it cleaned up, and therefore ended up removing some of the other versions that I would otherwise also be able to show off. So yeah, that's it about this station pretty much. Let's now get to the Ironworks, because there's another thing that I did here. I don't know if I talked about it yet, but I decided that for the resources that this station needs, I'm running out of them too often without being able to fill up the train that I want to use as a supplier for anything else here. So especially if I want to get a few pipes, I often am running out of them before everything is filled up, and that's kind of an issue. So I decided that I wanted to change this part of the station so it can also serve as a bit of a storage track. So instead of having both of the sidings here, which would always only be there for drop off and go off again, I now switch this up to have a few more sidings that allows me to just store a few cars here. There was a bit of an issue with this. First up, I couldn't find a way to get into all the sidings before having to do this turn here. Especially with me wanting to be able to go from all of the side tracks right towards the platforms here. So the switches had to be past the station. and I decided to go with a turn first and then get into the switches to create all the different sidings. And initially I even just went further straight ahead. The problem with that being that you just run into the coal mine base camp track. That basically cuts off how long you can make those sidings, and that would be not long enough in my book. So I went with something different. I completely rebuilt this part of the track, even though that was good enough as it was beforehand. Just so I could curve this around and then add a few more tracks to the curve. And I think just the way it looks, it's pretty much as good as it could be. We have a few drops in the terrain here, which is alright. I'm just happy that none of it goes above the regular level that I have here. So while filling this up a bit, everything can still be even. We come pretty close to the coal mine camp, and then come back around, and this is the end of what we got here for the whole thing. All of them just, or each of the pairs, have a switch at the end, which then goes into a turntable. So we can come around here with the engine, turn it around and put it onto whatever track we feel like. I may even consider making another track here that comes around this part and maybe then connect somewhere over here if I can manage to fit that in. I think that would be kinda neat, but might not be completely necessary anyways. I'll have to see what I do with that, but I think just having a shorter way to get the engine out of here would be nice. It's not necessary, it would be more of a plaything than anything else. So yeah, this thing doesn't even look all that bad from below, but I think to really appreciate it we have to go one step higher and really look at it from above. I think this is pretty cool. So yeah, we have loading track and the track for the empties that are supposed to be loaded. They just go around the circle on the most inner line, and everything else joins in from the outside. I also used Railroad Studio to replace some of the trees here. So that's all been just replanted basically. And yeah, I think this is pretty cool. Looking pretty nicely, and I just managed to build a little platform up here, which I may now remove after this video is done. Was a nice little thing getting all this to work. So yeah, another thing that I wanted to talk about, I know the video is getting quite long, but first up, things regarding the anniversary update and also my future plans for the series going on, at least for the next bit. Besides that also, since I'm here already, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but they definitely need to do something about the whole cable thing. For some reason they happen to in some places just duplicate. Seems to be whenever you put something to the pole of the actual telegraph post. Once it's safe and load back in, those cables just duplicate for no apparent reason. And also in some places they seem to disconnect, like over here. When I built this entire thing, those cables used to connect, and now without any reason they are gone. Also happened after saving and leaving the save again, so I don't know what's up with that. I hope that gets fixed rather soon. Would be nice to actually outfit everything with these poles, and maybe they could have another gameplay feature in the future. But for that they would need to work properly. Would be kinda interesting if you actually needed to connect all the telegraph posts in order to teleport between them. But right now they are all for loose and it's all not completely working properly, but hey, it's a beta branch. So about the update and my future plans for the game. First up, I'm in the process of gathering some funds. So whatever comes out with the update I should be able to at least take a look at. What I'll be doing is making a copy of the save, loading in, buying all the stuff if there is anything to buy, taking a look at it, and then giving you guys like another update video on that. Maybe I'll keep it for this save as well, but we'll see about that. I have a few things I want to buy, like 2 more climaxes or something like that, a few more cars, that kind of stuff if I don't need the funds for anything else. But just know there is a bit of spare money lying around here, and whatever the update brings, I should be able to first up review it in the video and also just be able to finally get a few more things done here. I noticed that once I did my first delivery for the oil barrels, I actually turned out having enough stuff to finally get going in a major way in a few places here. Just buy a lot more stuff and get something set up. So having these funds in the back is actually quite nice. Another thing though, I've kinda been feeling the grind a little with this. It's not been too much, I've taken a bit of a break in between, which is why there may have been a few videos coming out a bit closer to each other when I felt more like making more videos right after each other when I was more actively playing the game, but now I've been on a bit of a break and I think I may continue with that until the next update rolls out and we hopefully get something that mixes up the gameplay again, a bit again. So yeah, I might be making a few fewer videos after all the updates that I'm doing here. Some of them take a good while, like figuring out how to make a semicircle here and attaching multiple lanes to all of that, and it being with even increments in between and all that kind of stuff that takes a moment to do, as well as some of the grinding for new engines and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just don't want to burn out on this game, so I may be taking a bit of a break here and there. And then again, the stuff that I'm building sometimes takes this time as well. So as per usual, just don't expect a regular uploading schedule for this kind of thing. And yeah, I think that's all of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Yeah, for the anniversary update, again, there isn't really too much known. I hope it's not going to be just them putting the stuff from the beta branch onto the main branch and calling it a day. I hope there will be a few improvements and additions. Would really like to have for the shop, but I think there would be more of an UI update. First up, capacities for the different freight types for the cars, and for the engines, the top speed would be really nice. I don't know if I would have bought the what is it, the Cook 260 coal if I knew that it was this slow. I may go with the Cook 280, but I don't know if it's faster either. Then again, I have enough money to try. Don't need to save everything that I buy, but I don't know. So right now, maybe not gonna be doing all that much in this game. Waiting what the next update brings, and I'll definitely be making a video about that, whatever it's going to be. And I hope it's something major, I hope it's something good and well polished, but we'll have to see about that. So yeah, until then, I think this might be the last video, but depending on when the next update lands, it might not take too much longer anyways. The anniversary should be on the 1st of October, so it's only a few days out from this point anyways. If it comes out maybe later during October, maybe I will find something I want to do here, maybe I'll just want to play a bit more. But if I don't, I think I'm better off not overdoing it. With a few other with a few other games in the past, and eventually I just lose interest completely, and I don't want to happen that to happen with this game here. So we'll see about that. Won't be too long, I hope. I don't think so. And until then, thanks for watching, and bye bye.